All right, so we're going to move on to films. Mine is very horror-oriented.
I'm looking at my list, and it's also extremely horror.
So, number 3,
oriented.
horror. Make sure that last OR in there, horror-oriented, because we don't give the wrong ideas to people. So, number 3 for me, now mind you, these were easily could have been number 1s in any given year. Number 3 was 28 Years Later. Love that movie. Love that movie. Thought it was great. Once again, the jury's out on the next one coming out. It hasn't come out yet, right?
It comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet.
I'm terrified because it comes out in January. That's such a death knell. That's so bad.
Exactly. I am a little nervous about that. But 28 Years Later, great. Love it.
Great
I mean,
love
for breaking that trend of long-waiting gestated sequels that typically end up bad, this turned out so good. Mm-hmm. It's at 3, though, because number 2, Frankenstein, which I know we haven't talked about. I fucking loved Frankenstein. I thought it was amazing.
It's devastatingly good.
I thought it was spectacular in so many ways, and it's like jaw-dropping when I watched it. I was just sitting there in awe.
It's actual filmmaking, that's why.
Oh, absolutely, actual filmmaking. Del Toro, this movie was such a beautiful film, such a labor of love. You could tell it was something that he put his heart and soul into. And Oscar Isaac was so good in this movie. I mean, every part of it was spectacular, and it had jaw-dropping just scenery, of course. I wouldn't expect anything less. It was just so fucking good.
It was amazing. And, I agree.
And like I said, typically and in any given year it would be number 1, but I had to put Sinners as number 1. I just love that movie. Mm-hmm. I think it is spectacular. I know it won't happen, and I really could care less about award shows, especially knowing that the Oscars in 2029 is moving to YouTube. But I want to see Michael B. Jordan get the Oscar for Best Actor because his performance in the dual roles was so spectacular, and the movie itself was just so good. I watched it again recently. The music, the tone, the performances were just spectacular. Like, it's just spot on. And it's weird to think that a movie like Frankenstein, which was so spectacular in many ways, wouldn't be number 1 because it came out the same year as Sinners. And it took me a while, I'll be honest. I went back and forth. The reason why I watched both of them recently is I was really going back and forth on them. I could not make up my mind. And then after watching Sinners for the last time, I'm like, I gotta give it to this, just because even though it's a story that has sort of been told in From Dusk Till Dawn, and, there have been vampire stories, it was unique enough that I think that's what put it over Frankenstein, because Frankenstein was a retelling in the best way you could ever retell this story, but it was still just a retelling, where Sinners was unique enough that it was enough to overtake it for me.
It was a new movie. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not. It was based on vampires. That's it. It wasn't based on anything. It was just based on vampires. That's it. And it's like, great, let's fucking go. Disney is saying that nobody wants to see new movies. Let's fucking prove them wrong. Come on.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
And I'll be honest, this list wasn't hard because I could not think of 3 any other movies that I would put on a best of list that were new to this year that I've seen. Maybe Weapons. That was kind of back and forth, maybe with 28 Years Later. But other than that, I'm like, there hasn't been any new movies that I've actually, as much as we say I liked Fantastic Four, and I did, I want to put it on a best of list.
I wouldn't put it on a best of list.
I didn't like it that much.
No. I like it because the rest of the Marvel movies have been trash for the last almost 10 years. So,
exactly.
A non-trash Marvel movie, oh my God, give it to me right now, because even just a mediocre Marvel movie is so much better than what we've been given. That I'm just like, great, let's fucking go. Oh, you're going to make references and stick to them and actually try and recreate the comics? I'm in. Let's fucking go.
And it did help a lot that the one we saw prior to this was Thunderbolt. So it's like, okay, Fantastic Four is like the greatest thing ever compared to those shitty movies.
Thunderbolts wasn't I thought it was going to be catastrophically bad. It didn't make catastrophic, but it was bad. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
To me, it was like the first Suicide Squad movie with Will Smith.
Yeah.
That movie had its moments that I enjoyed, but it was a bad movie.
Yeah.
Same thing with Thunderbolts. It had some moments, but it wasn't a good.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
No, not even a little bit. But the worst movie of the year I saw in December, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Is it bad?
That movie is horrible.
So wait, explain this to me because I've been so curious. Does it take place in the same world or is it a full reboot?
It is in the same world.
How is that possible? That doesn't make any sense with what I know.
See, the thing that you just said it doesn't make any sense. This movie is such an unbelievable waste of time and energy. And I love Scarlett Johansson. She was terrible in this. I love Mahershala Ali. Terrible. The only good thing is they were setting him up to be the token black guy that gets killed. He survives. Spoilers. Which made me happy because I love Mahershala Ali. There was like this weird side story because, so the story is, there's a scientist that wants to get samples of dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs are dying across the planet, but there's a small island where there's a grouping that still are alive and still doing well, and they need to get some samples of them because there's a doctor / love interest for Scarlett Johansson who wants to use it to make medicine to help heal the world. And so she puts together her ragtag group of people, and Mahershala Ali's like the boat captain, and they put together this ragtag group, and they go out. But then there's this separate storyline of, okay, there are still dinosaurs in the world though, and in the oceans, and there's this father with his 2 kids and one of his daughter's horribly written, obnoxious boyfriend, who are going on a boat trip, like a sailboat trip, in waters that still have these giant dinosaurs swimming in the water.
What could happen?
Yeah. And then they team up together, and then they get separated, then they come back together, and of course there's a genetically altered dinosaur that throws everything in, and then there's the scene with the T-Rex where you're like, oh, the T-Rex, who was cool in the first movie, is just the stupidest, worst dinosaur that ever existed now in every movie since then. And there's, like, he's the most inept dinosaur in the world. And then there's a part with, like, raptors, which they're hunting. There's 3 raptors hunting a guy, and a pterodactyl comes down and takes one of the raptors away. But then the other 2 still don't attack the guy. They're just like, oh, well, they took away our third, so let's just leave. And the guy's just, like, standing there scared because he heard the pterodactyl take away the raptor. But then the other 2 were just like, yeah, screw it. Let's just go. God. And you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And that's the only time they had raptors in it.
Oh, my God.
And it's like, this movie was so fucking bad. Like, the first Jurassic World, it was okay. Second one, horrible. Third one, horrible. And I'm like, this can't be as bad as those. It didn't have Chris Pratt. I guess that's the best thing I could say about the movie. It didn't have Chris Pratt. All the rest of it, he's doing his Costco commercials, so he couldn't do it.
Oh, he's got like 80 commercials he has to do now.
Oh, it's so terrible. But all the rest were it was terrible, Al. It was so bad. And there's been so many bad movies that I've seen this year, and it was the easiest decision I had of what was my worst movie.
Oh, man, that sucks. That sucks. I'm not surprised at all. When I saw the trailer for that, my first thought was, so this is you have in the title. That's the dog whistle for, okay, we're restarting. We're not going to, the last 3 movies didn't happen. We're restarting the whole clock again, but not like all the way back, but like most of the way back. No, I don't understand you think Marvel has a bad plan? I don't understand this plan. And it's not like you're the Fast and Furious movies where everybody's like, oh yeah, the dumb dinosaur movie. It's like, no, there's supposed to be pedigree to this movie. And now there's just none. Now there's just garbage, bad acting, bad writing.
Well, it's like the Transformers thing where this movie was horrible, but it still made $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
Because overseas, they're like, oh, dinosaurs. We don't have to understand anymore.
Oh, my God. I'm so tired. Can we divide everything up into international and national filmmaking? Like, every studio just divides up. You can have an international wing and a national wing. And if you want to have movies that are made for an international audience, at least have it under an international wing so we can stop being forced to sit through all of these shitbird movies that no one here wants to watch, but that do gonzo gangbusters numbers in China. Like, I'm just fucking so sick of it. I'm so done with it.
Well, and the only reason I watched it is I re-upped in the middle of December. I re-upped Peacock, kind of getting ready for the Olympics, and it's on Peacock for free. And the kids also wanted to watch Bad Guys 2, which was a really good movie. So it was free to watch on Peacock. So I'm like, all right. And oh my God, dude.
Why not? Yeah.
Atrocious.
Off a duffo. All right. So my list is actually very similar to yours, with a few additions, shall we say. Okay. Because otherwise we would just be talking about the exact same 3 movies that you talked about. So I want to throw a few other numbers in there. I want to talk about Killer of Killers. I think that was a great movie. I thought that was so fun. I thought that did everything that an animated movie should do and should be. I really just the storytelling, the animation itself, the action, the style of it, all of it was so good and brought a new flair and flavor to Predator. I think that's a big thing that, like, if I were in school, I would do a dissertation on, like, the difference between how Alien has gone about trying to grow and how Predator has been going about trying to grow, because it's 2 incredibly different tactics in terms of what the vision is for what they want to do and what they're willing to put into it. I thought Killer of Killers was so good and so fresh and so exciting to watch, and the way that the characters interacted was great. The fact that there was this language barrier between people, seeing these new, interesting, dynamic fighting elements from the Predator that still harken back to the Predator that we know without being disingenuous to that whole element of everything. So I thought Killer of Killers was fucking great. I really enjoyed that.
I agree. And I loved how they weren't afraid to make it a very R-rated movie.
Yes, exactly. It still had teeth, even though it was a quote-unquote animated movie, to which I'm like, have you watched the Mortal Kombat animated movies? Like, animated doesn't mean children. I know a lot of people seem to think it does. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Nope. I mean, a lot of our DC movies we love are not for kids.
You can't do a lot of what Batman does in some of those movies in a children's movie anymore.
Or Apocalypse War. You can't show Wonder Woman getting ripped apart.
No. Can you imagine your daughter watches these movies that have Starfire and Wonder Woman and Mira, and she's like, I love these characters. And then she watches Apocalypse War, and they're all turned into evil, diabolical robots. And you're like, oh, shit. Oh, dicks. Oh, hell.
That's the best.
So, I love Killer of Killers. I thought that was great. K-Pop Demon Hunters is fantastic. I think that is here more for the soundtrack than necessarily for the movie itself. You can really tell that this was a movie that had about twice as much in it as what ended up being produced. So the story is way bigger than what ends up being produced, and the characterization is way bigger than what they have time for. And so there's a lot of hinting and kind of winking and nodding, and it's a movie that just begs for a 3-hour cut because it so badly needs to be filled out. And the popularity, the ubiquity of it means that we're probably going to get a lot of those elements in the future. I know Netflix has been working hard on making stuff for it moving forward. I want to sit here and be like, I'm not mean. I'm an asshole. And as an asshole, I'm going to sit here and say one of my favorite moments about K-Pop Demon Hunters is how much it cost in terms of Sony makes the whole thing through Sony Animation Studios, which is a big deal. That's a big animated studio. And they look at it as Sony and they say, it's not going to do anything. This is trash. Let's sell it to Netflix. We'll try and recoup our losses. So they only sold it for how much they spent on it, which was about, I want to say $200 million. This is $1 billion franchise.
Yeah.
And Sony was just like, nobody wants this, right? Nobody likes this. This is going to be a horror show. We're going to take a bath on this. You know what? Let's just sell it to Netflix. They're always looking for stuff to put up in their garage sale. We'll just sell it to Netflix. And then Netflix turns around and it's $1 billion thing. And it's just like, God damn it, Sony. Can you not suck for like 5 minutes?
They're so dumb.
5 minutes. Can you not suck at what you do? No. Sony universally is terrible at what they do, which is why it's hilarious that people are really happy that Sony still has the rights to Spider-Man, because they know that if Marvel owned it full out, it would be even worse than it already is. So, no, I love K-pop Demon Hunters. The best soundtrack of the year by far the best soundtrack that I heard this year. I love Sinners, but there's not bops like there are for K-pop. It's bop city over there. So the last one I wanted to talk about before getting into the movies that you brought up, did you watch Wake Up Dead Man?
I have not.
Okay, so this is the new Knives Out movie. I'm not going to go into any of the details. It's really good. It's really, really good. I really, really enjoy it. It is this perfect distillation of how I feel about religion, because you have someone who abuses religion and you have someone who is trying to actually do what religion is supposed to do. And the conflict between those two characters is excellent. The action is great. And of course, you have Benoit Blanc at the center of it. And he has so many great things where he comes in and he basically looks at the church when he begins his investigation. And he's like, this is all bullshit, right? Like, all this is bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yes, I believe in God. No, this is all bullshit. It's bullshit used to be cruel to others, used to segregate groups, used to keep people in control, used to fearmonger, all these things. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then you have the priest being like, you're not wrong. This building is closer to Disneyland than it is Notre Dame. And you're like, yeah, right. But there's still this discourse about what religion should be, what it can be, what it can mean to people. And if it's not being bastardized or used for villainy, this is what it can be. And it's great writing. I really love it. And it's a great mystery on top of everything else. I really, really enjoyed that movie a lot. It was really funny because when we went to see it, we saw it in theaters. So we were at my in-laws' house in Troy. So we drove to Albany. That was the closest theater to us that was showing it. The main character of the movie is from Albany. And so every time they're like, the priest from Albany, all the people from Albany in the theater were like, yeah, let's talk about Albany. Did you hear this? Albany? They said Albany. They just said, where you? And so that was great. I love that. But I thought Wake Up Dead Man was excellent and a great addition. So my top three, I think, are... God, this is so hard. I think it's 28 years later, Sinners and Frankenstein is the best movie I saw last year. I think Sinners, for all the same reasons that you've talked about it, I think it's just so great. It's just such a great, great movie. The characters are so good. And the horror doesn't just come from, blood and monsters, so scary. The horror comes from, I remember feeling this way when watching Fright Night, where you have these characters that you love and you want to see prosper and you feel for them because they're in these terrible situations that they shouldn't have to be in. And then they become vampires. And you're like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want Haley Steinfeld to turn into a vampire. I just wanted her to be able to have a black boyfriend and not have it be a big deal. So I just that moment when she turns around and her face is covered in blood and you're like, oh, she full turned. Like, she's not herself anymore. She's something new. She's something of herself, but she's also something of these new cravings and desires. And she's not the same person she was. And that to me is so scary. That to me is just like this person that you've known, that you care about, suddenly is still themselves, but very much not. And the things that they go after, the things that they want out of this life are exceptionally different and terrifying. But also just the fact that movie works so hard to incorporate elements of vampire culture that people kind of roll their eyes at. The whole, you can't they can't come in unless you give them permission and that kind of, that was so huge as part of the plot of that movie, and it worked so exceptionally well. And,
it was so great.
The entire thing is so good that even when it gets ridiculous, you're like, oh yeah, okay. The splash of cold water took me a second, but now that it's happened, I'm into it again. And I will never get over that scene where it transcends time and the guy from the 80s dressed as Hendrix and Prince rolled into one person shows up, and you're just like, what the fuck has happened? What is this? So but I love that movie. I thought that movie was spectacular.
Oh, it's so great.
28 years later, made me cry. Like, the very real fact is that 28 years later made me weep openly in the theater because it was so beautiful. I love that movie so much. I've been looking at it on the Vudu every week being like, just drop below 10, just drop below 10, just drop below 10, just drop below 10. It's so good. And God, it's really telling because Aaron Taylor Johnson can be good in something and can be absolutely terrible in something as well. He has the capability of doing both. And so I absolutely love that movie. I love what it means. I love the story that it tells. I love the characters in it and just the surprises that come along. I love Ray Fiennes in that movie is great. The little boy is great in that movie.
He's so
and
good.
I know people don't like the Power Ranger ending. I do. I can't help it. I thought it was stupid and fun. It's classic Danny Boyle. You have all this beauty and art and prestige, and then at the very last minute, Power Rangers. And you're like, whoa, hey, whoa. I was all in, and the Power Rangers showed up. I don't know what's going on with that. So I love that. I thought the whole thing was spectacular. But by far, the best movie I saw last year was Frankenstein. Frankenstein is just classic filmmaking. That's all it is. All it is films, sets, in a direction. Knowing what you want out of every moment in that movie, and going after it, allowing the film to come to life on its own. You know, there's that story that before Jacob Elordi was on as Frankenstein's monster, it was going to be Andrew Garfield, and they had made all the molds and everything for the monster. And then there was a conflict that came up, and so Garfield had to drop out. You know, they're filming in the middle of the winter up in Scandinavia, and it's frozen, and they just lost their monster, and so they're just filming pickups for Frankenstein running across the ice. Del Toro goes out, and he sees the fog, and he sees the landscape, and he's like, everybody, we're doing this right now. Right now. And so they get everybody together, they do the shots that they need to do, and then as soon as they're done, the fog lifts. And Del Toro's like, this movie's going to take care of itself. I don't even have to do anything. The world itself needs this movie made. I love that movie because it's the best retelling of Frankenstein I've ever seen.
Oh, easily.
Because it's, in some ways, the only retelling of Frankenstein I've ever seen. Because so many other retellings go so different. You know, they're based off of the 1930s movie, which is not based off of the book. It's loosely, theoretically based off the book, but you can tell by this movie just how different the original story was to what we've been raised on for almost 100 years. I thought that this was just brilliant. I thought, you know, you have Mia Goth doing two different roles, and like I didn't even know that she was the mother at the beginning of the movie. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's Mia Goth? There's no way that's Mia Goth. It's Mia Goth. There's color theory, which is so huge. I love color theory. This idea of certain things are a certain color for a certain reason. The actual practical sets, everything in that tower was practical. There were some CGI elements done to make the tower itself, but all of the sets inside the tower, they were all practical. We were trying to eat dinner when we were watching it, and we got to him building the monster, and we were like, we're going to have to come back to this because we're in the middle of it. You cannot.
But it's not grotesque.
It's not grotesque, but it is disgusting. Like, there are moments where you're just like, and so, but like you need that, right? The guy is literally making a body. Of course, there's going to be moments like that. I love Christoph Waltz in that movie.
I was just gonna say that.
Like, he's so good.
He's like a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
You know, you see him in these movies where he's not the lead, but then he steals every scene he's in. Yeah. I love that the movie is not about the discovery. The movie is about proving the process works. Yeah.
One of the first scenes we've seen is Oscar Isaac as Frankenstein giving his dissertation to a room full of scholars. And he reanimates a body in the room. Like, within the first 10 minutes of the movie, we see him reanimate a body. So this isn't about whether he can or can't. This is about he knows how to do it. He's going to do it, and now this is about the process of him actually doing it. And I just, God, that movie was so fucking good. The costumes were great. Again, this is why you do practical. This is why you spend the money to get everything real. This is why you get lighting and all these other, because there's no floating head. There was no moment where I was like, oh, it's floating head syndrome. There was none of that. You know, when he meets the blind man, when we get Frankenstein's side, the monster side of the story, and all these different elements are so good and so interesting and dynamic, and just like simple things like the monster only being able to say Victor and Frankenstein like losing his mind over this, like being like, I just need you to say anything besides my name. And then that becomes the thing he's shouting at Victor as they cross the ice. Oh, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen Frankenstein, go and see it, because it's absolutely fucking spectacular.
I love that part of it where he gets so frustrated that the monster only says Victor, but he never really went out of his way to do what the blind man did and to actually teach him like reading and like really get him to learn. And so you're seeing the frustrations. And it really, I think the thing that I loved about this is in a lot of adaptations, they don't necessarily show Victor as the bad guy.
Yeah.
But this movie, it's like, oh, he's the bad guy. Like, without question.
He's the protagonist, and then he flips to the antagonist halfway through the story. Once he flips that switch, he becomes the antagonist.
Like, really bad antagonist.
And he is all about, like, trying to stop the monster and not, he's not trying to... Again, it's one of those classic, like, you are your parents. The worst things that your parents did to you, you will do to your kids, and you won't even realize that you're doing them at the time. And... God, it's just such a good movie. I love that movie so much. Great. It's absolutely spectacular. It's like almost like a reverse Departed, where when Scorsese won Best Director for Departed, everybody was like, oh, like this is because he didn't win for Raging Bull and for Mean Streets and for Goodfellas and all these other movies. And I'm like, yeah. When Del Toro won for Shape of Water, there was a lot of like, oh, is it the best movie? I don't know. I think it's just because he's so artistic and they wanted to give him an award for being artistic.
It should have won for Pan's Labyrinth.
He should win for this. If he doesn't win for Frankenstein, that is impossible to me, because this is one of his notebooks. One of his famous notebooks where he writes everything down. I want to buy one of those if I ever become rich. I just want one of Del Toro's notebooks. I don't even care what movie it's to. You get pulled Harry Potter style into his notebook. This is his world, his vision, and he takes us along for the whole time. I love that movie.
I agree with you, and I don't know, because even though I like Sinners for let's just say non-technical reasons, where when I look at Frankenstein, I love the movie, and technically you can see that it's a better made movie. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I agree with you with him needing to win the Oscar, because in my opinion, I don't know of another movie that's going to be able to take the cinematography, the set design, the costumes, like all of the extra things that go together to make a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know how he couldn't. Like, if it isn't, it'll be that whole, the award shows don't like horror movies, and they don't want to give the awards to horror or comedy, but it's like, I think you have to. I agree with you. It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece.
Of all of his great movies, I think it was between, as much as I love like the Hellboys and all that, it was between this and Pan's Labyrinth of what I thought was his best achievement as a filmmaker.
Agree with that.
I would put this above it, just because this one, this one is more of I don't want to say straight retelling, because I think that undersells it. But Pan's Labyrinth, I think you have to have a deeper appreciation for cinema to really get some of the things that happen in it. Where this one, you just need to understand what a good movie is.
Yeah.
And you can watch it and be like, holy shit, that's a great movie.
I think what's great about both of them is that it shows his growth as a filmmaker. Because Pan's Labyrinth is kind of where so many of the tools in the bag that come back for Frankenstein really begin. And then they grow over that period of time through Hellboy and through Shape of Water and through Crimson Peak and all these other movies that he's made in the interim. And then all those tools come right back to Frankenstein. And it really is just like, one is how great of a young filmmaker he is, and one is showing how proficient, so exuberantly proficient he is at using that filmmaker's tool bag to really make a story that is uber impactful and rewrites how we think of a legacy character that has been with us again for almost 100 years. Like Frankenstein's monster, beyond the character from the book, what that iconography has been in America for almost 100 years is so separate from what Del Toro gives us. And it reframes that to make it be like, oh, the greenskin one, the one that's a joke, the one that's a bit, this isn't the real Frankenstein. This is the bit this is the real Frankenstein now. If you want the real Frankenstein, it's this. If you want the bit Frankenstein, it's this. And so that movie is spectacular. I have not watched any of the dramas or foreign films that are going to inevitably be nominated, so I can't say for certain, but I would love to see Sinners win Best Picture, Frankenstein win Best Director. I think I would be more than satisfied with that as a resolution to the year. I think by far those are the two best movies.
And what really caught me with Frankenstein, in once again, I love that we have these contrasts. When Superman came out, and you have supposedly the biggest fan of the character, and then he bastardizes the character and changes some of his origin and changes his family, to you have Del Toro, who's like, I am a massive fan of gothic horror, and Frankenstein is one of my favorite characters, and he did such justice to the story. And didn't say, well, you know what, we're going to change Victor to Jonathan because I think the name's better than Victor. But, I can make that change because I know these characters. It's like, no, don't have the arrogance to change the story. Have the arrogance to say, I can make the best version of this story. And that's what Del Toro did. It's like, like you said, the closest comparison in Frankenstein movies is the Kenneth Branagh one. And now that movie is unwatchable. Because you watch De Niro and you're like, I can't take him serious as the monster. And it's telling the same story, but you can see one that is done with true passion and one that's done out of like a vanity product.
One that's like, oh, we're going to give you Frankenstein. Go ahead and, here's $100 million. But like, it wasn't like the guy came in and was like, I'm doing this. And it's like that is Del Toro is I'm doing this. This is what's going to happen. And you can trust me because I'm motherfucking Guillermo del Toro. And so I just that movie to me will forever have its own place in history because it was able to escape the orbit of what had been Frankenstein. If you look at the Frankenstein's monster in Frankenstein and you look at fucking Kevin James's character in Hotel Transylvania, you're like, I think this is the difference. I think this is the difference between these 2 points in history.
This is not Herman Munster. That's for sure.
Exactly. Like, we're so far removed from any of those ideas that to try and compare it back to them is laughable. You're like, that's so dumb. We're so far beyond that. We can't even begin to try and do that. The worst movie I saw last year was...
and once again, as a horror movie fan and a classic horror movie fan, we got Nosferatu last year, or the year before last, which I adored. And we got Frankenstein last year, which I adored. I'm really hoping they do justice to the werewolf. So, because if we could have those big three basic characters just done so well, I could take those three movies and just be happy. It's like, I don't need to see another version of these characters. I'm happy
we have
with
it
what
now.
we got.
We're all set. We're good. We don't need to move on from this. This is perfect.
Exactly.
The worst movie I saw last year was Snow White. It was bad.
I knew you were going to say that.
It was really bad. I'm looking at the other movies I watched last year that were like, there wasn't anything that I watched last year that was like cataclysmically bad, right? I think like the things that come to mind are like Weapons was a good movie with a terrible title. These kinds of things where it's like, this isn't a problem, but it's not like there are problems, but it's not like a death knell problem. Thunderbolts, oh, this isn't good. It's not as bad as it could be, but it's definitely not good. It's kind of stupid, and you killed off one of your main characters in the first 5 minutes. I don't understand. Again, I don't understand the plotting or any theoretical ideas behind what's happening here. It doesn't make any sense. I saw Cyrano last year for the first time. That was bad. I saw Kraven the Hunter for the first time last year. That was bad. These are not good movies, right? These are bad movies.
Yeah.
Snow White was so bad. It was... How bad was this movie? It was so bad that I looked down and looked up and her mother had died. I don't know how it happened. It happened so fast that I literally looked down and looked up and she was dead mid-song. And I was like, what the fuck is this? The writing, awful. Throughout the entire thing, terrible writing. Gal Gadot's quote-unquote acting, awful. So bad. The only thing worse than her acting was her singing. Terrible. terrible, top to bottom. And then you get into we're going to have dwarves, but we're not going to have dwarves, but we're going to have CGI dwarves, but we're not going to do dwarves, but we're also going to have the second set of dwarves, and we're definitely going to do the original dwarves, but we're going to completely change them and make it so you can't recognize any of them, and we're going to have them introduce themselves over and over again. They're going to have magic hands, but it's never going to come up again in the entire story. So fucking bad. Like, everything about that movie was so trash. It was the only movie I walked out of last year, and I was in my own house. Like, it was so bad. It was such a bad movie. Triple F bad. The only thing that I'm disappointed in is that it was so spectacularly bad that Disney canceled all their plans for remakes, and then Lilo and Stitch broke even, so now they've cast Rapunzel and Finn Rider. And I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, God.
We were so close. We were so close to being done with this stupid thing, and now it's back, and now we're doing it again. Can we just stop with this nonsense? Disney, I gotta tell you, shutter your doors for 3 years.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just stop making content for 3 years. And reset everything and decide who you want to actually be in this life. Because Lord knows you're so much closer to evil than good.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that as like, I hate Marvel movies and I hate Star Wars. I'm saying that in terms of like your public perception in the world. You look terrible. People don't like you. You are in many ways a face of villainy in this world. I think you just gotta not do it, man.
Yeah. And what's funny, and I'm glad you brought up Disney, because I noticed this the other day. I was looking through, like, the new movies to buy on Apple. And remember the days when it used to be Disney Vault, you would be able to buy, like, a VHS once every couple years, maybe once every 10 years? Right now, every Disney movie is on sale for $4.99 in the Apple Store.
They're all like $5 right now.
They're all $5, and it's like, it's gotten to the point, thanks to their streaming service, that their movies have lost such value that now they're $5 a piece.
Well, it's funny because it's all going to come around. Right now, what I've been doing is Great Escape style, building a back door into the Disney Vault.
Okay.
And so every once in a while, I'll just go into the Disney Vault and I'll pick something up for $5 and I'll walk it back and put it in my Voodoo. And I'll go into the Disney Vault and I'll pick something up and I'll walk it out and I'll put it in my Voodoo. And I just do that whenever stuff comes up that I want, with the idea being, I'm going to cut the cord though, right? Like the big thing is like, I just got all of Always Sunny. That was like the big thing that was keeping me connected to Hulu.
Gotcha.
It's like that and Prey. So now I need to get a Blu-ray copy of Prey. And then I'm pretty much at the point where I'm going to cut the cord on Hulu, because I'm like, I don't really use this for anything. Why would I pay $25 a month for something that I'm not going to really use? I can use that money towards groceries or gas or any number of other things. I'm just going to spend $100, buy all of Always Sunny and anything else that I know I'm going to want. And then, that's, I spend that in 4 months. I spend that 3 times a year for Disney Plus now. So it's like, we don't need to do that, man. We're good. I'm good. I don't need to do that.
That's one of the few streaming services we still have. And the only reason we have it is my daughter just loves everything on Disney Plus. If it wasn't for her, we probably wouldn't have it for anything either,